Part 3 on building my own clubs. Let's finish them up and try them out. All right, we're doing it's been 24 hours and the glue is dried, and as always, you always keep your evidence. All right, there you go with that. 2. Now, what we're doing is the ferrule, and I've done the ferrule a couple of times. It'll be up in here. Just way more in depth, okay? But what we're doing, since we've been covering things fairly in depth, we'll try and do the other videos justice. So what's happened is, this is my pitching wedge, and every once in a while you get glue boogers. All right, now sometimes you can flick off a glue booger. Yeah, I said flick a booger. And you can do it typically with a knife. And you want to be careful when you're using the knife not to scar the metal, but if it's nice and dry, there it is, it comes off. Now, there are tons of different ways of finishing a ferrule. Again, that was the video. What we're using is a 1x42 belt going at 1800 RPM. You can get a 1x30 or a 1x36, but it will go faster, and you can't lean into it as hard. So it's a little bit easier to control when it's moving slower. There are also 2 different kinds of belts you can use. One is a felt belt, which I prefer because it doesn't do any burning per se. The other one's a cloth belt. And the cloth belt is the reason why I started doing this. Okay, back in the day when I first got started, I visited another club maker and he did not use it, and I watched him scar a shaft. That's not happening. Just not happening. Now, did it impact the performance of the shaft? No, not a bit. But it just looked bad. And I don't want that. So I started doing this to prevent that from happening. And I just kept, and it's just one of those things that's a habit I just haven't broken. I don't think I'm gonna, just because of the added protection. So we're gonna go and we're gonna turn it real quick. In fact, here you go. There you go. And we're gonna just get her done now. And turn on my vent. There. So you saw it only took a little bit, right? It really only takes a couple of passes. And then what you've got is it gives a little bit better white look, you know, even in the black. But what you're looking for is to make a good smooth transition right there. Then when you're done with all of them, off comes the tape. And then with our, you know, little cut up paper towels, then we give it a nice clean wipe. And then, if you see, we are good to go. Looks good. There we are. Nice and shiny. And when we work with colored ferrules, you got to be just so particular because of the black that can show up, and because of the color, it's not being black. When you saw me, I put a line, a Sharpie line back here. When you go to clean it and you start wiping it, there's a real opportunity for it to get there. So you got to kind of just keep your eye on it, and that's kind of what comes off on it. There you go. And then we go back to the Glandwatch wheel in order to do a final buffing on it. Now, what you're going to see is a little different here. You see how that's nice and matte finished? All right, give me a minute. And it gives it a little bit of a shinier look, and that's just you buffing the paint. Are you doing anything to it? No, you're not doing anything to it, and it's just kind of the repercussions of using the big disc. Now, when you have shiny shafts, it looks really, really cool, but when you have a matte shaft, you do that. Now, what's going to happen? Well, after a few I don't know, times in the bag, it'll start wearing, it'll go right back to where it was with the rest of them. But we now have a nice shiny ferrule. All right. So that's what I got to do to the rest of them. And then it's cut and grip and bend. And then we'll see what it looks like when it's all said and done. We'll do some performance testing. So I still have to put it down in the show notes. What kind of grip do you think would look good with this? Let me know. I'm a standard size guy, but I do prefer the MCC4s. However, you know, there's nothing saying we can't build stuff up. So let me know, what's your favorite grip that you would put on something like that? All right, so we're in the last bit of it. we've got the Golf Pride grips on, we've got the KBS shafts in, and the new level heads, and now it's the final bit is they've already been waxed, so they look good. Now we got to bend them, and then they're mine. So let's get started. I want a degree flat, so we just got to push straight down. All right, so we got that. I know what I want my lofts to be, so that's an easy one. We'll just keep going. Last thing we only have to do here is go hit them. That's building my clubs in a nutshell. Just the irons part, mind you. The wedges, that'll be a whole different series because it's going to be way more fun. All right, so we finished our ferrules. We finished the bending because those are, the ferrule is basically the decorative part, but it's got to look good in order for it to, well, look good. The bending is very important because it's lofted. The loft has to be right. And then the lie angle has to be dead on for your fitting based on turf interaction. And that's what we're looking for. It also gets you to the center of the club. It's also about how you interact with the turf. Now all we have to do is hit them. What I'm going over here while we're talking is how I hit them. All right, I started from the pitching wedge, moved my way up to the 6 iron. And what you're seeing is this is taking place over a couple of days because getting used to the clubs, what I had going on in the shop, that kind of stuff. And I've been ever so slightly improving on the fitting room as well, as far as being, making things more accurate, more detectable, that kind of stuff. So now what did we do? Or how did they work, right? And that's what we're going to be talking about now. Now, if you can tell by the circles, if you can tell by the landing area patterns, they probably need a little bit more work on how they go left and right. But what's happening is you can see a progression of distance increasing from the top to the bottom as I become more used to, one, where they hit the best, and two, getting my swing oiled back up and ready to go. So it's a combination, and as you see in a lot of the cases, not all, but a lot, that the quality of the hit goes up, resulting in a better distance and better control. So they're coming into play, and it seems that I'm having a little wider gap than I think I like, which may result in a gapping session, and that could be another video. However, right now it's just a matter of getting used to them and hitting golf balls. If you see I have somewhere between a 20-yard gap and almost all the way up until I get into my 6 iron. And then the 6 iron and the 7 iron or 6 iron and the 5 iron are very, very close together. They're almost on top of each other. And that's just because I'm not familiar with the 5 iron. So we're going to work on that a little bit more in order for it to become a useful club in the bag. Now, do I like them? Heck yeah, I like them. They have a feeling, when people are looking for the true forged feel, this certainly has it, right? And even with the graphite shaft, which is a shock absorber, it still transmits a feel when I'm off, and it lets me know when I'm on as well. And as it turns out, the look on them isn't too bad either. As we're looking at them now, we did a little contrast with the white ferrule going into the black shaft. And then the TGI red shaft is a very contrasting color, very outstanding color to the black. And then I had to add on my own flare. I was going to go with a red grip to keep that going. However, I figured I had the red and the white going. I was thinking about blue for a military kind of theme. That's going to be later. So I figured this is the golf irons. So we went with my traditional green grips. Would I do it again? Yeah, I'd do it again. The only thing I truly miss out of this is a gap wedge. And we're gonna try and figure out how that's gonna work out going forward. And that's how those sets come together. So my dispersion or my distance gapping is a little wide, but at least I know what I'm getting into. The quality of my hits are starting to rise, and hence with same thing with the ball flight, and they're starting to look good. If I show you some of the patterns, here's the 9-iron in the pattern. Kind of, you see it in the middle, and that's just all the junk. It's all the junk from hitting on the golf balls. You know, I'm fine in the middle of the face. That's the pitching wedge, and the 8-iron. All right, so it's not that thing is with a lot of these clubs is that you see right here where I'm in mostly on that guy, I get it out here and it's a whole different club, of which I'm starting to get out in that direction. You know, getting started, I wasn't finding necessarily the middle of the club, and there's a combination of the guy holding the stick and, you know, and being in here. So got used to it, started hitting it better, and you can see the progression. There it is, building my own clubs. Thanks for watching it, and get ready when the Georgia will have opened as of today, the making of this last bit of this video. And so the wedges will be coming in, and that will be a whole nother setup of building the wedges. So again, thanks, and let's see your scores go low.